What's up, you guys? In this video I'm gonna show you how to create your first multiplayer online multiplayer game in Unity using UDP King. You can download this tool from the asset store, link on below. So just download this asset to create your first multiplayer game. We have some documentation here. You can read the documentation to learn more about the tool, but it's very easy to use. You need just use two functions to send messages to the server and receive a message from the server. So you have a method called connect. You can use to connect your client to the server, and we have emit to server to send packages or messages to the server. We have also emit to client when we use the server to send message to the client and broadcast, or for only one client if you want. You have this method here. You need just this to create your game. So let's get started. I go to the Unity. I already import the UDP King library here. UDP Blue is already here. I created this empty scene here to demonstrate this game. So let's do it. We create a simple room here to act level designing. We don't need a big room, just a single room here to create our game. So I have a prefab here, tutorial sampling. I have a level design folder and I have a simple level design here. I just delete directional light. Alright. I'm making some walls with cubes here. I have a wall here, another wall, and the floor, just single floor here. Just a plane or really cube. I scale it here. Oops, 1000. All right. Okay, guys. Now we need to create a user interface for the players enter the room. So let's create a user interface. Go to assets. Go to game object, UI, and go to the canvas where we will create a canvas game object here. In game you can see nothing here. I already create a canvas, so I just delete this. I go to prefab folder, HUD canvas already create. It's a simple canvas here. Event system, we need this too. We have a HUD canvas. I attach a canvas manager script to manage the screens here. It's very simple script. I can open in here the script. So we have a canvas lobby, input login to player put your name to enter to the game, alert dialog text, alert dialog panel to show players some messages. A very simple script, and a method to open a current scene, for example, or not scene, to open a current menu here. Very simple script, so it's no matter here now. In here I have a alert dialog. I maximize here. The player will put your name here and press the button join and join to the game. Very simple example we have here. Alright, guys, the next step will create a cube that you represent the player in the room. So let's do it. I just create a cube here. Go to the game object, 3D object, cube. I rename this cube to player manager. Alright, very easy to do that. So we need to create some components to the cube. I go to add component. Rigid body. We need a rigid body for our player. use gravity, check it here. You need a script called player manager to control the cube's movement, to move the cube around arena. So let's do it. I focus to the cube here. I already created this cube. Add component. I have a script here, player manager. I just drag and drop to the player manager. Alright, we have a simple script here. I delete this player manager. I already have the prefab here. I call it the local player. It's the same cube here. We have a box collider, rigid body, and player manager script here. Also, we have a network player prefab here. It's the same cube here. I just changed the color of the cube. I just changed the material. So if you see here, I have a material to network player to remote player. I have another material to the local player. All right, but all the other things is the same for the both player. We have a player manager script, rigid body, box slider, etc. Let's see the player manager script and see what he do. I go to edit script. All right. We have some variables here like ID, name of the player, is online, if the player is local player or not, my rigid body referencing rigid body component. We have just a simple vertical speed here, a rotate speed to rotate a player, and last velocity is don't matter now for us, and camera to target is this don't matter too. And jump control variables here to jump power, the power of the player jumps, jump time is no matter for now. In array we reference rigid body here. We set the 3D name of the player. In player prefab we have a text here. Focus. We have a text here to reference the name of the player, so we can change this name using this method, get component in child text receiving name of we want. In fixed update, we check if player is local player, we move the player. Alright, if you remote player, we don't need this because the server will move the player. Let's check out the move method. In the move method, we have it just we capturing the player input here. If input.getK up, we translate the player to the forward. If the put get down, we translate the player to the backward. Right? If input get key right, we just rotate the player, rotate the cube, and if user press the left arrow, we rotate the player too. Alright guys, also we need to send all this information to the server. For do this we use the update state to the server method. Let's check out this method to send information to the server. Update status to server, we have a network manager here. This is a new script. We use this script to send information to the server. We have the emit, pose, and route methods. We send the player ID and player position and player rotation to the server using network manager scripts. So let's go back to a Unity editor. We need to create the network manager script. I already created script too. So I do this again here. I go to the game object, create empty, rename this game object to network manager, and we need attach one script here is the network manager script. I go to the network and drag and drop the network manager here. Also, we need one more script here from the UDPKing library. This script is UDP component. I go to add component, UDP component. I add to the network manager object. This script is core of our library. The UDP component script is responsible for performing all low-level tasks between client and server using UDP sockets. We have some basic fields like the server IP. I put 127.0.0.1 is local host address, is local IP here. In server port, you can choose any port. For usually, I use the 3000 port. Peer tip, we check the client peer here. Alright, it's very cool. Let's check out network manager script and see what emit, pulse, and rotate do. Let's check out. I go to edit scripts. Let's take a look at the network manager script. We have some variables like instance, the instance variable. So you have the instance variable. This variable represents the class of our class network manager. You can use instance to use any methods from the network manager. For example, in play manager script, use instance to reference network manager to use the emit, pulse, and route method. You can use this for any functions you want in network manager. Alright. Also, we have the UDPKing variable of the type UDP component. This variable will be responsible for receiving and transmitting the packages to the server. Alright, we have another variable here on logged. We have a variable called local player to store our local player. Also, we have the local player ID to store local player ID, obviously. And we have a network players, a list variable, dictionary type. We have in this variable, we have two keys. I have a key of type string and another key of type player manager. We have a dictionary type list to store all logged players in this room. As key, we will have the ID of each player here, and as content, the player manager component of the player associated with each player. Alright. Also, we have a variable of the type game object, a vector called local player prefabs, and a network player prefabs. In here, we add our player prefab. Okay, in network manager, we can go to the local player prefabs. I put one here, and network player prefabs. I put one here too. So I just add the local player here and network player here. Alright, very easy. Let's go. I have a cam rig prefab. I create a camera to follow the player. I already created this prefab here in prefabs folder, in camera folder. We have a camera here, and camera have a script called camera follow. I open this script here, just a simple script just to follow the target. In this case, the player. This camera will follow the player. You can use the cine machine to camera if you want. We have another examples here using cine machine, like the battle royale example here. We use the cine machine. I saved the scene here. Tutorial scene. Alright. Alright, in Battle Royale example, we use the third person camera. Here we use the Cinemachine Free Look Cam. It's very easy to use it too, but let's focus on our example. So let's go back. Tutorial scene. Alright guys, go back to the network manager scripts. Alright, go to the start method. We have some functions here. It's no matter for us. We add this class to the instance variable, and we instantiate UDPKing here using GameObject.getComponent UDP component. The first thing we need to do is connect our client using the .connect method from the UDP component. Using UDPKing.connect to establish a connection to the server. Ever we want to receive notifications from the server, you use UDPKing.on. We see this later. Use on to receive messages from the server. We don't see this now. Let's see what we need to send messages to the server. For example, if you want to send the position and rotation from the player to the server, in this case, for example, we create a method called emit pose and rot. We send the ID, the position, and the rotation of the player. I create a simple variable of the type dictionary called data. I store the local player ID in local player ID field here. I store the position of the player using the position.x.i.z using this character to concatenate. Also, we use the UDP class provided by UDP King framework. Use UDP class. UDP class allows you convert the string to vector 3 or vector 3 to string to vector 4, and vector 3 to string, etc. We can use this class too. In here you can use it. I just comment this. We can use choose class dot vector 3 to string methods. I put the underline pose here. You can use alternatively this method to send. In rotation, you can do the same things here. I can use it. I just copy this and paste here. Vector 4 to string, and use the rotation in here. Alright guys, so we concatenate these fields here, local player ID, concatenate with position, and concatenate with rotation in the MSG variable. To send this information to the server, you just use UDPKing to .emit to server. You use ID here, called the pose and rot. We use this in the server, and send the package in here in the second attribute here. Alright, so we use this to join game. Use the same. For example, emit join game when the player press the button join. This button will call the method emit join game here to send the information of the player, like name. We capture the input field name of the player. The player puts your name here. We get this information to send the server. in here, putting data name, and we create a spawn points. I create a spawn points to spawn the player. I just create empty game object here, spawn points. I add another empty game object here, spawn points. I create another spawn point here to spawn the player, another spawn point here, and in network manager class I add these points here. I create 3 spawn points to spawn the player, a spawn point here, another here, and another here. You can add the camera rig prefab here too. I go to the tutorial folder and go to the prefabs camera and add the camera rig prefab here. Alright, so let's do it. We send the position of the spawn point here. Also use the UT class to convert the vector tree to string. We convert the spawn point position to the string to send it to the server. Alright, so we concatenate here the name of the player and the spawn point position to the player and send all this information to the server. Alright guys, so let's save it. Go to the Unity. We have some error here. Alright, in Unity we need to convert the quaternion to the vector 4. So I create a variable called vector 4 variable rots receiving new vector 4. We get the rot.x, rot.i, and rot.z, rot.z, and rot.double. Alright, and use rot in vector 4 to string methods here. Alright, everything's gonna be alright. Let's go back to the Unity editor. Alright, everything works fine. Alright guys, let's check out the server port. To create the server, we need another scene. The server is separated from the client. We have a build to the client and another build to the server. I already create the server scene here. I open here, just save it, the client scene. Alright, I have a simple user interface here. It's very easy to do that. I have a control panel just to count the online players. And we have this here. I created the game object called the server manager. I add the UDP component here. I put the server address here. The local host, the local server IP here, server port, and peer type the server. We choose the server peer type. Alright guys, save it and create a simple script tutorial server to receive a message to the client. Alright, I just open the script here. Alright, in here we have another instance variable to represent the tutorial server class. We have a UDP component type variable called UDPKing and a variable online players to count all players in game, and a list of our clients. I have ID client ID and client component client class to represent the player. In client class, we have some basic information like ID, name, position, rotation, and remote IP is a special variable. This remote IP stores the IP, the player IP, and player's ports. Alright? This special variable of type IP endpoint stores the player IP and the player port. In the start methods, to receive all the messages sent by the clients, we use the UDPKing.on method, always on to receiving messages from the client or the server. In this case, we receive the message from the client. For example, go back to network manager script here. In UDPKing emit to server, we have the callback, the ID called join. This join we use in tutorial server. Here we identify here and create a function to handle with this message arrived from the client. Alright, so we have sent this, some informations here, and we handle this information using on receive join game function. Let's check out this function. Alright, on receive join game, we have the data attribute here. This inside the data, we have the pack 0 with the callback name, in this case join, the pack 1 with player name sent by the client here in network manager, and we have the data.pack2 with the player position or spawn points position. Remember, we use the spawn points here and convert to string and send to the server. The server will save this spawn point using data.pack2 index 2. We check out if we have any client with the same ID. If it's not, it's the first client to connect, so is everything alright. We create a new client class. We add a random ID using UDP class.generate a random ID. In client's name, use the pack1 with the player name. Remember, in network manager, we send the name of the player. And the client position, use the position sent by the client. Alright, on remote IP, we use the data.nip attribute. In HUD server, we put some information here, it don't matter for us. And in connected client, we add the new client to our list here, using the ID and the client component of the player. We increase the online players with the connected clients.count. So it's very nice here. We need to send a response to the client and to the another players in game. So we have the three methods here. Emit response, send the response to the local player. Emit players to player, emit all the players in the room to the player, to the local player, to the new player. And emit players in broadcast, emit this player to the all players in the room. Alright, let's check out the emit response. In the emit response, we have a dictionary variable called the send pack. We have the callback ID called the join success, and we have the message. We concatenate the player ID, local player name, and local player position. We send all this information to go back to the client. All right, but first we need to concatenate this information here and convert all this information in bytes using encoding.ascii id.getBytes use response with information inside in MSG. So to response the client, we use the UDPKing dot emit to the client to send the message go back to the client. We send the message here in the first parameter and use the player IP provided here using IP endpoint variable. Remember, we use data.nap storage player IP and player ports. So this method will send join success to the network manager in the start methods. In the start method, you are receiving the server message here and handle with on join game function. So let's check it out. On join game function. So we receive join success, the name of the message, the player ID, the player name, and the player position .x.i.z. All right. In the server, we send some information here to the client. All right. Just save it here. On join game, we instantiate the player. We put the new player variable here. Use game object dot instantiate local player prefab using the cube local player cube. We convert the data dot pack free with the player position. The player position, remember, is spawn point position. We convert it, go back to the vector tree using util class dot string to vector tree to convert the position string to the vector tree position. We put the ID of the player, use data.pack1. We mark this new player like is local player. We put the new player is online like true. Alright. We set the name of the player, use the pack2 sent by the server username. So alright, we put the player in network players list. We add the player in the network player list. Spawn camera to follow the player. Alright, we set the local player like a target of the camera. We open the screen in cover using covers management method. Open screen 1. Just check it out. Open screen 1. We hide the lobby canvas using lobby.enable false and rehide the lobby camera. We don't need the lobby camera anymore because we use now the camera rig to follow the player. Alright guys, so we need just this. Also we have the method emit players to player to send the players already room to the player. Let's check out the emit players to player. We create a send pack variable, the package. We use this ID to identify the message, and we iterate every player in game and send all these players to the game. So we use for each to send all the players. Using UDP King emit to client, we send the other players information in send pack like ID, name, other players position, and send this information response. We convert to bytes in MSG and send to the player. Spawn player you receive in network manager. Here we have a UDPKing.on to receive as this message, and on spawn player function to handle these informations. So we spawn the network players using this function, using game object to instantiate. You instantiate the network players here. Net player is local player is false, using the remote players here. Set the 3D name and set the others function and add the new player to the list, network players list. All right. For last, we need to send the our player to the other clients. So use the method here, emit player in broadcast. We send our players in broadcast to all the other players. So let's check it out. The method emit player in broadcast. Emit player in broadcast send our client, our local client, to the other players. We have the send package here to store the player information. We send the client ID, concatenate in MSG field client ID, client name, local player position, and iterate for all the players in game. And for this player, we send the MSG information, use emit to client method, using the IP for the players to send it to us, to send it today. So we use the remote IP and send the local player today using to the spawn player method in network class here. So we instantiate the all local player to the network players too. Alright guys, we need just it. For last function, we receive a position and rotation of the player, and broadcast emit player rotation is the same function. Use here to send the local player's position and rotation to the other players in broadcast. We iterate for all the clients in game and use emit to client to send the new position and rotation from the player. Using this ID of the network manager here we receive the new local player's position rotation and use this function to update on the clients. All right, in here we locate the player in the network players list and use the method update position and update rotation from the player to update the remote player position and rotation. Player manager, we have the update position, transform.position, receive the new positions from the server. In update rotation, receive the new rotation from the server. Remember, if it's not local player, we use these methods to update rotation and position. Alright guys, let's go back to the Unity. Alright, now we build the game. For I go to the scene, I go to the file, build settings, and select the scene here. I delete the previous scene here, and go to the builds. This is a tutorial client folder. I build the client here. Later we will build the server. Alright, I create the client build here. Now I create another build to the server. I go to the server scenes folder, open the scene, and create another build here. Build settings. You can use the server build if you want. You can use this, but you appears just a terminal. You can see things. So I check out this. I go to the add open scene and delete the previous scene here. I go to the build and go to the tutorial server and select the folder. Alright, the build is ready. Let's run the server first. The server is here. So I run the client here. Another client. Another client. And the Unity, I can go back to the client scene here and run another client. So let's enter the player 1, go to the join. When the player put the join, this button called the emit join game methods here, emit join game here, send all this information to the server. The server will save on join game the start method here, join function, and go to the already saved join game in the server. On the server, storage the player information here, and emit response to our player, emit players to the player. In this case, we haven't other players. It is the first player to enter to the game, and emit play broadcast. It's not works good, and send this join success and spawn player, for example. In this case, the server send only the join success to the network manager. A join success send to the on join game. Remember, join success in this start method here of network manager class, and we have on join game to instantiate our player in scene. Alright guys, go to the join. Alright, our player in the scene. So let's add more player here. Player 2, join game. Alright, other player in game. To instantiate this player, the server receives information and use emit players to player and emit players in broadcast. So he can send the players to our client, local player, and send it to the other players also. So create another player here, player 3. Alright, another player in this game. Alright, very cool. One more player for the last player, player 4. Alright guys, we have a basically is the tutorial. If you have any questions, please contact me. I will help you. I will help you to create your game. It's very easy to do that. We have here a lot of examples. We have the room sample. In this case, use the rooms like a Photon library, like the Photon Pool 2. It's very cool example here. We have you can find the rooms, create a room like Among Us example. It's very fun. We can create a private room. If the example is not very difficult, it's very easy. We have a FPS sample here too. If you want to create a FPS game using UDP is excellent. You can check out this example. The same example is use the same techniques to emit in broadcast, emit player. It's very easy. You repeat the same steps for this example. And we have a bitstream sample here. You can send bit streams like image data or any bytes. You can send it to the server. Here is very fun example. And Battle Royale sample here is very fun. You can create a Battle Royale like Free Fire, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone. You can create it using this example. It's very basic, but we have some very things you can do. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any question, please contact me. Goodbye for now. Bye.